Tonight, the winds of war shift once again. In the dark, cold fields of eastern Donetsk, reports claim that Russian forces have breached Ukrainian defensive lines, a development that could redefine the battlefield. Is this a turning point in the conflict, or just another chapter in a long and dangerous stalemate? The answers could reshape not only the front lines, but the entire balance of power in Eastern Europe. Stay with me, because what's unfolding may be far bigger than anyone expected. Good evening, I'm your name, and this is your Frontline Report. In the past 24 hours, multiple outlets, Russian, Ukrainian, and international, have reported a significant breach of Ukrainian defensive positions in the eastern Donetsk region. These claims, while contested, are making headlines across the globe. The alleged breach took place near a network of fortified settlements that have been the scene of relentless fighting since late July. Russian military sources assert that a carefully coordinated operation involving sustained artillery barrages, armored pushes, and infantry advances succeeded in penetrating Ukrainian defensive lines. They describe this as opening a corridor for further movement and opportunity to exploit and expand. Ukrainian officials, however, acknowledge only localized advances by Russian troops, saying that defensive lines remain intact in critical positions. As always, the truth lies shrouded in the fog of war, but independent satellite imagery, open-source analysts, and even neutral observers on the ground suggest that at least several trench systems and contested villages have indeed changed hands in recent days. To understand why this is significant, you must first understand the terrain. Eastern Donetsk is not merely a battlefield, it is a fortress. Over the past year, Ukrainian forces have transformed this sector into part of their second defensive belt, a system of overlapping trenches, bunkers, and fortified towns designed to absorb and blunt attacks. The breach reportedly occurred southeast of Bakhmut, in an area controlling approaches to vital transportation corridors linking Donetsk with Luhansk and Zaporizhia. Why does this matter? Because in modern warfare, supply lines are lifelines. Control of these routes allows an army to move fuel, ammunition, and reinforcements with speed, and to deny that capability to the enemy. Analysts warn that if Russian forces consolidate their gains here, they could force Ukraine to redeploy troops from other critical sectors, stretching defensive capabilities thin across the front. Over the past months, Russia's strategy has become increasingly clear. Pressure the front lines through sustained attrition, wear down the defenders, and exploit any weakness with concentrated force. The alleged breach in Donetsk comes after weeks of constant bombardment, reconnaissance drone activity, and smaller probing attacks intended to test Ukrainian responses. According to retired Russian Colonel Viktor Murakhovsky, speaking to domestic media, we are applying constant pressure, and where resistance shows signs of strain, that is where the push comes. It is a matter of exhausting the enemy's resources. The Russian Ministry of Defense has yet to release official battlefield footage of the breakthrough, but state media are portraying it as evidence that the momentum is shifting. Observers note similarities to previous campaigns in Soledar and Bakhmut, where Russian forces made slow but steady gains after prolonged siege-style operations. These are not lightning offensives, they are battles of inches, where persistence and endurance often decide the outcome. Ukraine, for its part, is treating the development seriously, but insists it is far from catastrophic. A Ukrainian military spokesperson described the situation as fluid, conceding that Russian troops had advanced in some areas, but stressing that the depth of Ukraine's defensive positions remains formidable. Reports indicate that Ukraine has already dispatched reserve units to the affected area and is employing precision artillery to strike Russian staging grounds. Air strikes on Russian positions have also been confirmed by Ukrainian officials. Kyiv is once again calling on its Western allies for advanced weaponry, particularly long-range missile systems and additional air defenses to counterbalance Russia's growing pressure. as one Ukrainian officer told international press under condition of anonymity. The breach is real, but it is not the end of the line. We have fought back before, and we will fight back here. Internationally, the news has sparked swift reactions. In Washington, Pentagon officials remain cautious, stating they are closely monitoring the situation but cannot yet verify the scale of Russian advances. In London, UK Defense Intelligence reported that recent Russian movements in eastern Donetsk suggest intensified offensive activity, but also stopped short of labeling it a decisive breakthrough. Meanwhile, in Brussels, European Union security advisors are preparing new briefings for member states, noting that protracted fighting in this area could create new instability across the region. Moscow, however, is framing the breach as a sign that Western-backed Ukrainian defenses are weakening. Russian state TV commentators are already suggesting that further pushes could follow before winter weather limits large-scale maneuver warfare. To appreciate the weight of this moment, it helps to look at the historical backdrop. Donetsk has been a focal point of conflict since 2014, when pro-Russian separatists seized parts of the region in the wake of political upheaval in Kyiv. In the years since, it has witnessed some of the war's bloodiest engagements, from the encirclement at Ilovaisk to the bitter siege of Debaltseve. Since Russia's full-scale military operation began, Donetsk has evolved into a hardened defensive bastion, its trench lines reminiscent of World War I in both complexity and brutality. Any penetration of such defenses is rare and costly, and the psychological impact can be almost as great as the tactical effect. It sends a signal to the troops, to the public, and to the international community that no position is truly unassailable. Yet every shift on the battlefield also brings human tragedy. Reports from humanitarian groups on the ground paint a grim picture. Hundreds of civilians have fled in recent days, while many remain trapped in zones now under heavy shelling. Access to electricity, clean water, and medical care has collapsed in several communities. Aid workers warn that ongoing combat is preventing relief convoys from reaching those in need, and both sides have accused the other of targeting civilian infrastructure. The central question now is whether this breach is the beginning of a broader offensive or merely a limited tactical gain. Some military analysts believe that Russia might attempt to widen the corridor and encircle Ukrainian forces in the region, potentially forcing a withdrawal from other key positions. Others argue it could be a probing action testing Ukraine's reserves and response times before committing to a larger operation. Ukrainian counterattacks are anticipated. Small, localized counterstrikes could retake lost ground before Russian units can entrench. On the other side, Russian forces may push quickly to expand their foothold before Ukraine can bring in heavier reinforcements. This phase of the battle could be decisive in determining momentum for the coming months. One Western military analyst, speaking to an independent security forum, noted, "This is a war of endurance, and each side is measuring the other's capacity to sustain losses. Even a small breach can have outsized importance if it forces the opponent to spend resources faster than they can replace them." This conflict has already rewritten many assumptions about modern warfare. Drones, electronic warfare, and precision-guided artillery have played a decisive role in shaping the battlefield. But at the heart of this latest report is something timeless: the struggle for control over terrain that both sides consider vital to their cause. As we speak, the situation is evolving by the hour. Field reports suggest ongoing clashes within and around the breach zone. In some areas, the front lines may be little more than a few hundred meters apart, separated by open ground littered with craters and burned-out vehicles. These are conditions where even minor gains require extraordinary effort and come at extraordinary cost. In the coming days, we will likely see intensified fighting, with both sides seeking to shape the battlefield to their advantage before autumn rains turn much of eastern Ukraine into a muddy quagmire. The stakes could not be higher. For Russia, consolidating the breach would provide both a tangible military gain and a powerful propaganda victory. For Ukraine, holding the line, or better yet, reclaiming lost ground, would demonstrate resilience and the continued viability of their defensive strategy. The war in Ukraine remains unpredictable, volatile, and deeply consequential. Every development here sends ripples far beyond the Donbas. The economies, security policies, and even political landscapes of nations across Europe and beyond are being shaped by what happens in places like eastern Donetsk. As we close tonight's report, one fact remains. According to multiple claims, the line has been breached. What comes next, whether a deeper push, a determined counterattack, or another grinding stalemate, will be decided in the days and weeks ahead. The only certainty is that the world is watching, and history is being written in real time, one hard-fought kilometer at a time.